Well, good morning for another session of Lemons to Lemonade. My name is Michael Drummond, and my guest today is Viva Wonder Woman. Also known so excited to have you on. Your actual name is actually Laura
Thank you.
Preston, though, and let me tell you, for those
Yeah.
who don't know, Laura, she's actually a cosmic player, Wonder Woman. She goes all around the nation as a woman. She has her own costume. Makes Wonder Woman costumes for people. She has her own charity, and she actually DC Comics. She's actually been a model for one of the paintings, the official paintings for DC Comics, and has done an awful lot in character as Viva Wonder Woman. And so excited to have you on the show with me. And so, well, tell us a little more that I maybe haven't shared with the audience before.
Okay. As you mentioned, my alter ego is Lara Preston, but I guess my stage name is Viva Wonder Woman or Miss Vivalicious. I am a professional cosplayer. I've done a ton of stuff in costume all over the country at different Comic Cons, and from San Diego to New York. I also have my own costume business where we make Wonder Woman costumes that sell all over the world in 14 different countries. And I also do a ton of charity work as Wonder Woman, and I actually had my own 501c3 nonprofit called Heartfelt Heroes. So I spend a lot of time, or I did spend a lot of time in costume as Wonder Woman. And yeah, I love it. I love being a superhero.
Well, thanks. Now, as you know, we all at our times have lives that all have to have different lemons, and you've had your lemons as well, right? And so maybe tell us a little bit what those lemons were and how that affected you. Yeah.
Well, so I guess I've had a lot of lemons, but I think the big lemon, which was why I'm here, is 2 years ago. I got a divorce after 19 years of marriage.
19 years.
So not exactly where I expected to be in life. And that ending led to lots of other endings and closed doors. I had to leave my home in Las Vegas and move back home to be close to my family and support group in Salt Lake City, Utah. That meant I had to close the doors of my 501c3 nonprofit and give up my charity work, which was a huge part of my life. Being now a single mom back in the workforce, I no longer had the time and resources to devote to cosplay. So I wasn't doing that as much. Yeah, so it was just kind of one, ending after another.
Yeah. And I'm guessing when that first happened, that was probably pretty hard. I mean, how did you respond to all of that?
So I might have died, literally. There were several months, probably 3 months at least, where I deleted social media. I did not leave my house, even to go to church, the gym, nothing. I just didn't go anywhere. And it actually was a full 2 years. It's only been recently that I've actually suited back up in costume because, I just associated so much of my old life with a lot of pain and heartache and traumatic experiences. And I was, to be honest, scared to put the costume back on and have to relive some of that and recognize some of the things that I had lost. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. So it's actually been pretty difficult 2 years.
2 years. Wow. And so you've gone through this process. The first 3 months were incredibly difficult, but it was still hard as you went along the process. But there's something changed though, right? Something that made it so that get past there's 3 or so months. Tell me what happened there.
So I literally had a moment a couple months in after the divorce where I thought I could either choose to see my entire world just burning and give up and die,
Yeah.
or I had to learn how to change my perspective and instead see like the refiner's fire working in me and something, polishing me into the person I needed to be. But I had to change my perspective. And so what I did is I went on Amazon and I bought a cheap gratitude journal. In fact, this exact journal. And I started filling it out. And in fact, in the last 2 years since my divorce, I've probably given out over 300 now of these gratitude journals and kind of a pay it forward, planting little seeds of happiness everywhere I go and trying to share with people this new tool I had learned to change my perspective and make, peace and happiness regardless of my circumstances.
And you gave me one too, by the way. I remember
Oh, good.
that. Wow. Man. And so you did that and sort of writing those. And I know it says it's a very simple one. It's the 3 a day that it was processed and
Yes.
stuff. And
Hmm.
but something else you've kind of shared with me before that happened that
Yeah.
really made the difference for you.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I mean, I literally was just writing 3 things a day, and they were the very obvious things. I mean, there were days where it was literally like donuts, ice cream, and candy, and that was it.
Hey, those are good things to be grateful for.
They are good and they are grateful things. But eventually I decided, I just had this epiphany that I wasn't really scratching the surface of the power that gratitude really had in my life to change my perspective. I had seen a quote that said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I started developing this idea, like, could I actually use gratitude to change my perspective about things that I didn't think I was grateful for? And so I came up with this little handy dandy gratitude tool. And basically, I take a sheet of paper, I write, I am grateful for, and then the thing that I think I am not grateful for, whether it's divorce, endings, losing my nonprofit, leaving Las Vegas, going back into the workforce, financial struggles, lost relationships, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And then I list 1 through 10. And then I force myself to come up with 10 reasons why I'm actually grateful for that disappointment, heartache, or challenge.
Wow. And so you basically you would start with here's the thing I'm not grateful for, but I'd write I am grateful for
Yes.
it. And then the 10 reasons why you should be grateful for it. And by the
Yeah.
time you got done with that, that's when you actually finally started to truly be grateful for it.
Yeah. And it was amazing. It really is like magic that the gratitude and expressing it had the ability to take something that originally I thought was, adversity, trial, the most worst, awful thing that could happen to me. But by the end, my perspective had changed. And now I saw like a handcrafted blessing or lesson made just for me to, teach me, grow me, or, whatever needed to happen. Like then it was like almost the best thing that happened.
Huh. And you I think you actually have a sample for us. Is that right?
I do. Woo! Some gratitude. Some gratitude in action. Here we go.
Well, I'm
So I
curious.
thought, this is from my journal, my Wonder Woman journal. And I wrote it a while ago, but I thought this would be an appropriate one to share so you guys could see. I am grateful I am single, 1 through 10. Number
Which is
one,
interesting. This is the one that
I
actually
am honored
started
to
all of them,
have,
right? The whole single one. This is the one
yeah.
that started all the other things. So
Yeah,
this is a
this is
pretty
not
rough one.
exactly where I expected to be in life.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yeah.
I am honored to have the time now to focus on my kids and the relationships I have with them. I am also setting an amazing example to them of all the things their mom can accomplish as a single working mother managing our household on my own.
Okay. So that's um, as a single working mother, and so
Yeah, so my
tell us a
kids
little
are
bit that
seeing
one.
me learn new things and grow, and I'm just setting a good example for them. Plus now I've got more time to focus, on my relationship with them
Mm,
and develop that. So that's been really special. I think my kids and I are closer than we've ever been.
yeah. And I'm guessing that probably was a little bit of an up and down thing getting there, though, through that 2 years,
Yes.
right? It wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you probably had some of these things about those relationships too at times. I'm guessing get those get there.
Yeah. Well, I really did want to give up for a while, but I thought, you know what? If nothing else, do it for your kids, right? Pick
Yeah.
yourself back up.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So number 2, I am learning self love. I am enough. I am learning daily to love the girl I see in the mirror, even with all her failures, imperfections, and flaws. I love who I am and who I am becoming, a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time.
Wow, that is a beautiful statement, isn't it? I mean, and it's something I think we all probably struggle with, but when we get there, it's a huge deal, isn't it? To be able to love ourselves and to appreciate what we see in the mirror. So that
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in the beginning, if you've been through a divorce, you really do feel like a failure. And it is really hard to see anything but your weaknesses and your failures and your flaws and what you did to contribute to the failure of that relationship. And it's really hard to try to, love yourself and learn learned that self-love. So that was a big lesson I have learned.
That's a good one. It's a huge one. Yeah.
Number 3, I am the master of my attitude. Only I can make myself happy. No one else can do it. And I choose happiness. I am learning ways to process my emotions in new, healthy, and happy ways. So, regardless of my circumstances, I can be happy.
Hmm. You know, when you first started reading that one, I thought about the poem Invictus, right? I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul, right?
Right.
And there you took charge of that, right? And what a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you've had a partner for 19 years, you've had someone, to try and share your life with or process your emotions with and your story. And all of a sudden you're on your own. And you really have to learn that at the end of the day, it isn't anyone else that's going to make you happy. And it also isn't your circumstances that determine your happiness. It's you and your attitude. And you can control that no matter what happens.
That is it's not your circumstances that determine your happiness. That is a beautiful, I mean, I think it's something that we all need to learn. And maybe stop for a second, going through my own world. And I think I told you there was a time when, when Tiffany, that she went on hospice, and up to that point, I was like Mr. Positivity, all this great gift. And all of a sudden I was, holy crap, my wife's going to die. Right. And that's what and I started going downhill. And it's when I read a statement. It was out of a book, Resolved by Orrin Woodward, and it said life is 10% what happens to you and 9% respond to it. That's exactly what you're saying. It's what's something we can control. And at that point I made this 180 degree turn the other way. So keep going, please.
Yeah. Number 4, freedom. I can do what I want to do. I'm free to pursue my dreams and passions to create the life I want to and become who I was always meant to be.
And I think that really is when you're, before there was always the other person you had to answer to, right? And so,
right.
So, although you probably would rather have the other person in your life, still, you must look at the silver lining, and that's definitely a silver lining, right?
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, I can run around all day in costume now if I wanted to, right? Freedom. Number 5, and this was actually a really tricky lesson to learn, but important. And that is, I'm grateful for alone time. I've learned to meditate and find outlets that I can enjoy alone. It's so liberating to be happy all by myself, to know that at any time I can go within and find inner peace and joy.
Alone time. Now, I know that from a personality standpoint, you are in Kim's 12 shapes things. You are a circle or an octagon type thing. People are the most important thing in your life. Yes. And so that had to be really hard to learn to be okay being alone.
Yeah, I'm an extrovert. I love relationships, people, and I think, as I've mentioned to you before, where I actually learned that lesson was during the COVID quarantines. When that hit, that was my worst nightmare. I was like, I'll take COVID and die over being alone. Like, please no. And I really had to learn. In fact, in my journals, I have a list. I am grateful for COVID and I am grateful for quarantine. And I really had to come up with all kinds of new hobbies and outlets and creative pursuits that I can do alone, including meditating, so that I could weather that storm. And now I'm so grateful, you know?
And I'm sure that wasn't like the first day, hey, this is great. You had to get there, right? It was an evolution, because I'm sure that was really hard in the beginning, right? For anybody with.
Yeah. I would Zoom with my family and I was just crying, like, please, please hang out with me. Number 6, every ending is just a beautiful beginning in disguise. I know and trust in the fact that sometimes certain things have to end so new and better things can come into your life.
Oh, every ending is new, because there's new beginnings, right? And I think that's so true. When one door closes, one opens, right? And you've had some amazing doors open, right? And I think that's the and soon others will continue to open, right? I think that's
but it is hard because sometimes doors close and it isn't always immediately a new door opens, right? My marriage ended, and I am, still single.
Yeah, you had to heal some, you had to grow some, you had to be ready for that new door, right?
Yeah.
And I think
so maybe one day there'll be a new door, but right now it's just trusting
Mhm.
in that idea that, some things have to end so other things can, replace them.
Yeah, it reminds me. There's that time, and there's a morning time. No matter whether it's
Yes.
whatever there's a loss, whether there's a lemon in our
Mhm.
life, there's almost always a morning time, right? And you can't shortcut those either. And so maybe there was a time when there's a desert has to be crossed, whatever. And I
Mhm.
think for some people though, what happens is they quit crossing, they lay
Yeah.
down, right? And
Mhm.
I think what you're showing is yeah, it's a little rough at times, but if you figure out the path, you draw the map and you just keep walking, you're gonna get to the other
Yeah.
side, right? And that's
Well, yeah.
yeah.
I think at some point you have to stand back up because um, you don't want to. Like
Yeah.
maybe the bravest thing is not giving up when that's all you want to do,
Mhm.
is standing back up and continuing, persisting. So
Hmm.
that's a trick for sure, especially when the new door hasn't opened yet, when you're still
Yeah.
dealing with the endings.
Yeah.
That's the trick for sure. Number 7, some things you can only learn in adversity. I am grateful for hard things. It forces me out of my comfort zone so I can grow and evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, you probably argue that the most growth happens during adversity.
For sure.
I think about I do jujitsu at times, and I think about the times when I learn the most is usually when I lose. It's usually get tapped, and you're like, okay, now how did you do that, and how can I? And I think it's the same thing with this.
Yeah.
It's the failures, it's the losses, it's the hard times
Mhm.
that really make us humble and teachable, and that we actually grow.
Yeah. I think our characters are polished the most under fire, under adversity.
Yeah.
And you cannot learn those lessons
Mhm.
unless you take the test. You
Yeah.
gotta, go through that classroom lesson to get the characteristics. So there are some things you can only learn in adversity.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're in the storm, you can't see it, but when you come out of it and look back, then you can really be grateful for the lessons that you've learned.
Mm.
Number 8, I am grateful for the time I now have to reflect on things I am allowing to hold myself back. Fears, insecurities, limiting beliefs, the past, flaws, and weaknesses. So I can let them go and turn them into strengths so new and better opportunities and experiences can come my way. Sometimes the only way to be reborn is first you must die.
Mm. So there's a lot in that statement there. You're talking about the
Yeah.
focus on becoming the butterfly, I guess, right? You went in the cocoon, and all of a sudden
Yeah.
and there's a lot of changes taking place in there,
Mhm.
and be able to come out and be something.
Well,
Um,
it's kind of what you were saying about failures, that we learn the most from failures.
yeah,
And so, because I failed
yeah,
in some respects,
yeah,
then that's forced me to look at my failure and see the things that I did to contribute to it.
hmm,
What were my weaknesses or imperfections? And then work on developing those so that they are now strengths and so that they won't hold me back in the future and I can have success.
hmm,
So, so
wow,
I think that's important. Number 9, speaking of things to let go of, my past.
hmm,
I can be grateful for everything that has happened to me. It shaped me into who I am today, a strong and empowered warrior, an independent and happy woman. I am grateful for every experience in my past. I can make peace with it all, the good and the bad, forgive myself and my failures, and move on.
and I'm sure that was hard because I mean, obviously, 19 years, and
Ah,
there's rarely a marriage where it's always one sided. So and so
yeah.
you had to feel like there were parts that you did contribute to it, right? And
Oh,
so
for sure.
that
For
had to
sure.
be like a massive hit. And so to be able to sit there
Yeah.
and
I think I punished myself for a really long time. I think the person that was the hardest to forgive was myself at the
yeah,
end of the day. And that took years. I feel like that was
mhm,
almost 2 years, literally,
yeah,
maybe just recently, that I could forgive myself.
yeah,
Um, but I really am grateful now looking back. I tell my kids all the time, even knowing it was going to end in divorce, I would do it all over again just to have them, to have the lessons that I've learned
Yeah.
and the person that I've now become because of the divorce. And so I make peace with my past that way, is I literally can be grateful for all of it, the good and bad, because
Yeah.
it shaped me into, who I am today. And yeah, so I really am, grateful for all of it, and would do it all over again, even the divorce.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. It's
so.
interesting you say that, is I think about, I often tell people with Tiffany's cancer was a beautiful gift wrapped in
Hmm.
really ugly wrapping paper. It brought us
Hmm.
close together. It changed priorities. This is the price we
Exactly.
had to pay to come to know God. And I think that, and I would do it again too, all of it,
Yeah.
in the end. And I think that's so weird for people to hear that, but that's the truth, because it was amazing for both of us. And so
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Like, it really has been a very challenging experience, but I can honestly now say that it has grown me, in ways I have never thought possible. And I'm such a better person. I'm more sympathetic, I'm kinder, I'm more loving. And so at the end of the day, yeah, I would do it again. I'm glad I don't have to,
Yeah,
hopefully.
that's right.
I can say that now. If you'd asked me, a while ago, maybe not. But number 10, sometimes God puts you in places alone so you can see all you really need is Him. I'm grateful for alone time that has helped me cultivate my relationship with God and learn how to really hear Him. In the end, if this is the price I had to pay to know Him, I am honored to pay it.
And I mentioned that with mine just a second ago, right? It was price we had to pay to come to know God. And
Yeah.
I think for most people, if they allow it, that's what
Hmm.
happens, right? That's where
Yeah.
we have to rely so much on Him. And that's the truly great benefit of the hardest things we ever do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And when you look at it that way, if you really have come to know God, to hear God, to get His inspiration in your life and cultivate a really close relationship with Him, what price wouldn't you pay for that?
yeah,
I mean, what wouldn't you do to have that?
yeah,
So at the end of the day, it's an honor to be able, to get to that place, whatever the price was you had to pay.
yeah. It's
So
amazing.
I love this show. I love what you're doing because it really is true that we all have lemons and
Yeah,
everybody has different lemons, you know, divorce, death, loss of job, whatever it is.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah, help.
And I think,
Yeah.
you when you look at this thing, this whole 2 years
Hmm.
experience stuff, what's the biggest lemonades that you've taken from it then?
Well, at the end of the day, um, and you got to understand, when I first started doing this 1 through 10 thing, it sometimes took me days and weeks to come up with a list of 10. It was actually really hard. Like, you were almost asking the impossible of me because I was having a hard time seeing anything positive in my situation. But like any muscle or anything, when you do it a bunch, you just get stronger. And now I really am so much better at almost automatically seeing the positive and the silver lining in whatever comes my way. So whatever happens, my brain just, automatically finds something to be grateful for. And now in my journal, when I make my 1 through 10 list, I can easily do it in one sitting. And so I think that's the thing, is the more you cultivate this attitude of gratitude and the more you're learning how to find the positive in any situation, you go from making lemons to lemonade, hopefully one day almost instantaneously, where you
Uh,
can literally maintain that positive, attitude. There's a quote that I love that says, the struggle ends where gratitude begins. And I think that's true. I think that really is the secret of turning lemons to lemonade.
yeah. I think you're right. It's really is, gratitude is it's the mother of all virtues, right? It's where they all begin. and,
Exactly.
and
It's
so
true.
and I think and you actually came up with this. I don't think we brought that up, but you actually came up with this yourself, and that you somehow the inspiration came to do that, and then And now you share with us, and hopefully the people who are listening to this, they'll be able to take that too for themselves. And I think it's important though to understand that the first time you did it, it wasn't that easy. It wasn't.
No.
You had to work in, and I think because a lot of people, they might be in that position like, oh, I don't know if I can think of one thing. Well, it might take you a little bit, and it's okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there were plenty of times where people would have thought I was maybe a really negative, unhappy person. And now I've changed where I think a lot of people who know me and especially know my pay it forward thing associate gratitude with me, but that wasn't always who I was.
Mm-hmm.
That really did take work. I really did take this experience and being forced, to try and find that silver lining to kind of change, who I even was. That's the whole thing is, we can't always, well, we can't change the beginning of our stories. We
Yeah.
can't change the lemons, but we can change what we do with it. We can change our perspective and we can change the ending.
I love that. I love that. And I think, but I'm guessing you still have lemons left. Is that right? I mean, there's lemons still in your life that you're still working on. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. In fact, I've had a lot of endings and not tons of beginnings yet. So there's had to be a lot of faith. And my journals are filled with these 1 through 10 lists. And some of them are the same things. Now that I'm single and dating, I've had other heartbreaks. In fact, I swear every couple months I'm listing 1 to 10. I'm grateful for lost relationships or for heartache or broken hearts. That's one that I have to use all the time, even now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So, and but the beautiful thing is you have the tool that makes it happen. And I think that's incredible. I think it's so many people, they don't, right? They just suffer through it, and they don't. I mean, you're actually thriving through it, and they're not even hardly surviving it, really. And I think that's really the difference I'm seeing here. I guess what would be the one thing you've learned and one thing you would actually want to somebody going through the same thing that you've gone through, and maybe it's kind of recap really, but what would be the one thing to say, hey, this can change your life if you're going through some other you're going through your serious lemons, this can change your life.
Obviously, I would like to preface it that things do take time and to be patient with yourself because, like I said, this has been something I've been working on for 2 years, this whole attitude of gratitude. So be patient with yourself. Some things do take time, but I really do believe that gratitude is the key to true and lasting happiness. It literally has the ability to change your perspective and to turn something from a challenge, trial, adversity, heartache, disappointment, whatever it is, into this beautiful blessing or lesson. It really is the power to find happiness regardless of your circumstances. I joke all the time now with my kids that my real superpower, it's not flying, it's not magic bracelets and a lasso of truth. It really is the ability to find the silver lining no matter what, to be grateful for everything. And if nothing else, that's an amazing legacy that now I can hand on to my kids, and hopefully, they'll be this much further ahead in developing that characteristic for themselves. So I really try to share it with everybody. I talk about gratitude all the time. Like I said, I hand out these gratitude journals. I'm all about it. But I really do believe if you can find that silver lining, if you can find things to be grateful for, you literally can change your perspective about anything and be happy no matter what.
Well, how powerful. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm sure that those who listen to this will have gotten a lot from it. And so, and maybe we'll have it again sometime, and you can talk about with your new doors opening, right?
Yeah, when I get those new beginnings,
That's right. Well, thanks again, Laura, and as I know right now, the whole clothing line is kind of on hiatus as we're waiting for COVID to go through and all the cause to start back up again, but that will soon be over too, and we'll make sure people know about that as well. So, well, thank you, and
thank you for having me. I'm grateful for the experience.
All right. Hey, thank you.